is a beautiful afternoon here in Barbados. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody who's watching. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Week Show. And today we have an amazing topic that we're going to be dealing with for the entire month of May. It's Child's Month, people, and so we're going to be focused on children's issues throughout the month of May, all throughout the diaspora, the Caribbean, in the U.S., in Africa and its diaspora. Listen, man, we're gonna take care of our children, and we're gonna be talking about it all this month of May. Is what we're going to be focused on. And today we have in our studio Miss Veronica Price, and she's gonna be speaking with us. But in the meantime, guys, I want you to share. Listen, we are all warriors together. We are in this thing. We're in this thing together. And we are going to just be sharing and letting people know that we're on. And even after the broadcast is over, we're going to share. Come on, warriors. And let me just say good afternoon to those who are watching on Caribvision. Those who are watching on Caribbean, going out to 16 different Caribbean countries. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And it's great, 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 great to have you on today. I can see people are on. The numbers are climbing. This is wonderful, guys. We are going to be talking about our children, and there's some specific things that we want to talk about today. You know, the GIS situation is still there. It is still there. I know some promises have been made. That's here in Barbados. I'm talking about the government industrial school, where we have some of our young people that are there, or children who are there, who are now suicidal. Some are leaving, some are trying to escape from there because they're complaining of the conditions that are happening there at GIS. They're complaining about abuse. We've spoken to wards who are some young ladies who are wards of GIS, and they have confirmed about the abuse that has taken place there. And so some of the children are trying to escape and are being treated as criminals, really. And so today we want to continue our discussion about that. These are our children, and this is very, very important. We watched the press conference a couple of days ago where the minister, Wilfred Abrams, is now saying that they're going to do another investigation. But we thought that it was about 3 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago, he said an investigation was done and that everything is fine. There's nothing wrong there. So the question is, when was he lying? Was it at that press conference, or is he lying at the most recent press conference? You know what is happening there, guys. We're going to ask you to share, continue to share, and let someone know that we are on. This is very, very, very important work that we're doing today. Let me just welcome Miss Veronica Price to the studio. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. Hey, hey, I'm seeing somebody else here telling us good afternoon. Hi, Kerry. Good afternoon, Kerry. Last time Kerry said, Marcia, your head was hot. Your head is hot. I'm much calmer today. Let's see what happens in the middle of the show. Kerry, please share and let people know we're on. Hi, yes, Veronica. Welcome, welcome. You're
Well,
there in New York, right?
yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a real pleasure. And Veronica, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're Barbadian.
I'm Barbadian. I
Hmm.
immigrated to the US in 1979, tender age of 19, and I was here until 2006, maybe. No,
Hmm.
a little earlier. Far. Let me regret. I came back in 2006. I was here to 1996. Then I came home for a
Hmm.
spell, and then I came back to the United States in 2006, and I've been here ever since then.
Okay.
I'm a clinical counselor, psychologist, and I been doing this since 1999. My focus is sexual abuse, children and women.
Hmm.
So this is a subject very dear. and near to my heart, so I will get passionate as well.
I know, I know. And Veronica, you said you left when you were 19 years old. So
Yes,
most of your life you've lived outside of Barbados, but you
yes,
still have a strong interest in Barbados. Why is that?
because that's my home. Home comes me
Mm.
first. I come back to Barbados every year. Every year I plan to go to another destination so I can see the world, and every year I end up in Barbados.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. So I've heard just a couple days ago. I was in a privy to I was in a meeting, and I heard you started to give a story. When the GIS, the topic GIS, the government industrial schools. For those who are watching and you're not from Barbados, the government industrial schools, it is a school. What do you call it? Is a reform school. Supposed to be a
Supposed to
reform
be
school.
reformed.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, Sonia. Good afternoon. Good to see you. Good to see you. It is supposed to be a reform school for girls, and that's in Barbados, and I think they have one in most of the Caribbean islands. There's a reform school, and but what's happening here in Barbados is over a period of time we have been hearing stories, horror stories that have been coming out of the government industrial schools. We've been getting a lot of promises and not seeing much happening from our governments, both parties, because the school has been in existence over 30 years, so you can't blame one party for it or one government. It span a number of governments, really. And so I heard Veronica speaking about her near miss with the government industrial school. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. The background. I was sexually abused from age 9 until 11, 12 when
Mm-hmm.
I entered St. Michael's Girls' School, and my principal, God rest her soul, Constance Innes, recognized that all was not well with me. But
So how did she know? You said that she recognized that all wasn't well with you because
my
parents
behavior,
are watching.
because of my behavior,
What happened to you?
I was what is known as acting out. I was doing things that girls usually do when they're not settled and there's something going on with their mental um capacity, and we do things. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost classic, it's almost textbook. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell my clients that I treat that when you're unhealed and you haven't been treated, you either implode or you explode. You
Mm-hmm.
explode and you take it out on others and you do things, or you implode and you take it out on yourself and you get
Right.
diseases and you
Veronica,
get
let me ask you
symptoms.
something. Could you turn up your volume a little bit?
Sure, hold on, let me see.
Is that while we do that, guys, please share. Veronica is telling us about her near miss with GIS. This is the government industrial school here in Barbados, which is a
I'm trying
reform school
to
for
find
girls,
the phone.
and also sharing with us that she was sexually abused since she was 9 years old. And I think a lot of women, especially here in the Caribbean, can have stories about that. So it's really according to the UNICEF report, 1 in 3 women have been sexually molested. Veronica, you're there?
Can you hear me any better now?
Yes, much better, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. So, yes. So I tell my clients all the time that unhealed sexual abuse, it permeates every single area of your entire life if it's unhealed. And you either implode or you explode. So imploding means you hurt yourself. And then you develop diseases because the body is a fine-tuned mechanism. So you
Mm,
get diabetes, you get high blood pressure, you get those kind of things happening to you.
mm-hmm,
And or you hurt yourself by doing things that are not good for your health. As
mm-hmm,
I was telling you, I'm 63 years old, and the thing that I still do, even though I consider myself healed, is every time I decide to go on a diet or to adopt a healthy lifestyle and I come down to a certain point, as soon as I hit that certain point, I sabotage myself and I gain back the weight
mm,
because the weight is my cover.
Mm-hmm.
When I was taken to the emergency room for the last abuse, because I was abused more than once. I was raped now at age 28, and when I was in the emergency room, I told myself that I was going to gain weight, so no man would ever find me sexually attractive again. And I've
Mm.
had this weight on from then to now.
Right. Wow.
And every
Wow.
time I
Wow.
try to lose it, I gain it back.
Yes. Yes.
I sabotage myself, and I'm a psychologist, and I can't figure out for the life of me why I can't get my weight off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're saying that you realize that the abuse is connected to the weight. And I know
Yes,
a lot of people, women who are watching this today, there's some light bulbs going off. Light
it's my
bulbs going
cover.
off. Yeah,
It's my cover.
it's a
It's
cover.
like
It's
my turtle
connected to
shell.
it.
It's my cover.
Mm. Interesting. Mm. Very interesting. So you started to act out at St. Michael's School, and your
Yes, at age
principal
11, 12. And my
at
principal said,
11, and that's
yes,
because you were abused.
right.
You were sexually abused, and I think it's important for people to understand that, because some of what's happening to the girls, with the girls at GIS, is linked to sexual abuse, is a
Yes,
link to
it's
abuse.
acting out. It's them acting out. They're either imploding or they're exploding. So the principal noticed, called my mother in, told her to take me to a psychiatrist. And I want you to hear this and hear this well. I'm not going to call her name. But she told my mom that there was nothing wrong with me to take me home and beat me.
Take you home and what?
Beat me.
Wow,
The
the psychologist.
psychiatrist told my mom that. There are two things in my life I will never forget as long as I live. That's one. And I'll tell you the other one later on.
Mm. Wow. And so your mom, the psychiatrist said take you home, and at age 11, when you were acting out at school,
Right.
said to take you home and to beat you. And then
There's nothing
your
wrong with
mom,
me.
at what point did she believe she needs to take you to GIS?
Okay, because I'm acting out really badly now. She's beating me. Nothing is happening. Because this is at age 15 now. Because at
Mhm.
age 15, I was gang raped.
At age 15. Oh,
15. Gang
oh,
raped by five boys.
Veronica. So at age 9,
9 to 11.
9 to 11, you were being sexual abused. Is this a family member?
Yes. It's my step grandmother's son.
Right, so you're by a family member, and
Right.
then at 15, you were gang raped
Right. By five men.
by five
And that's
men.
when I really started acting out. And my
Oh
mom
my
couldn't handle me.
goodness. And
So
so, was it at that time that your mom decided to take you
take me
that she
to
was going to take you
Somerville.
to GIS?
Right, right. It was Somerville then. And
Somerville.
so she got me dressed and took me to the bus stop to take me
Uh
to
huh.
Somerville. And I'm praying, 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 praying. And the bus took so long to come. She decided to take me back home and take me the next day. But she never did. Because I believe
Mm.
God changed her mind.
So she changed her mind because you were praying. You didn't want to go to Somerville.
No.
And what is it? Why didn't you want to go? What did you hear stuff about it?
Yes. Yes. That you heard stories. You saw girls that came out. Somerville is a place of incarceration. It's not a place of rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all you heard. So you
Mm-hmm.
got a stigma. I already had a stigma. People already thought it was the worst thing because of my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So I already had that stigma. So now going
Mm-hmm.
to Somerville coming out, only God knows what kind of stigma I would have after that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
actually heard a story one day. I had a best friend at 15, and she called me. One of the beatings that my mom gave me, sorry, I should back it up. One of the beatings my mom gave me severed my left wrist. It severed the tendon, the nerve, and two tendons in my left wrist. I still don't have full control of my left hand.
Oh my.
So,
So
so
it's look at it. So you were sexually abused at 9, between 9 and 11. You were gang raped at 15, okay? And the psychiatrist at when you were 11 years old, when your principal of St. Michael's School recognized something was wrong, said to your mom to take you to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist told your mom to take you home and to beat you. And
mhm,
your mom
Took
Your
me home
mom
and beat
beat you
me.
till she severed your wrists.
Yes.
My goodness. So
But
it
she
was
didn't
abuse
sever the
upon
wrist.
abuse.
She didn't sever the wrist herself. She, my mom, my sister, her husband, my brother, they were all beating me because I had stayed out too late. And by the time I got home, my mom was a nervous wreck because she had no idea where I was. I got home after 11.
Mm.
So when the last bus had finished running, therefore they don't know how I'm getting home because the last bus had stopped running. So when I finally showed up, they all decided to beat me. So I ran from the beating, and we had a glass door. So I saw the door close. So I'm running and looking back to see how close they are to me, and I put my hand straight through the entire door.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't get hurt then because I remember hearing somebody had said that little boy had just severed his nerve and stuff, not from when he put his hand through the door, but from pulling it back. And I'm hearing this in my head, and I still pulled back my arm. So I severed the entire nerve and two
Yeah.
tendons to my hand.
Oh my goodness. It is like it's oh my, from insult to injury. So he keeps going, and so, and why I wanted you to tell this story, Veronica, because I want people to get a glimpse into the backstory of the type of girls who are at GIS, or who, at the time they said Somerville. Now we're talking
Right,
about government industrial school. It's important for us to understand the conditions
right.
that a
And
lot of these girls live under and live
correct.
in, and so on. And so that all of that, what you have experienced, have caused you to be very sympathetic to the girls at GIS, isn't it?
Yes, of course. It hurts my mother heart. It's not only from my training as a clinical counselor, but from my experience. It hurts my mother heart. This is the one thing that gets to me like nothing else can get to me. It
Mm,
hurts. And because I can only imagine what these girls are going through. Because I
yes.
know what I went through. I know I went through at that age. I
Mm,
couldn't tell no one. As I tell people, the first time I told my story was when I wrote my book when I was 42 years old.
mm.
Before
Wow.
that, nobody knew. My sister didn't know. My mom didn't know. But my mom died at 72 and she still didn't know.
So all that time she was beating you to fall in line, she didn't realize that something had happened to you at 9,
No, and then at 15,
and then at 15. So
no.
they are seeing the external, they're seeing the
They're saying the
behavior, just
behavior.
like a lot of people pass some comments on Facebook about the girls at GIS. But the question is, do you understand their do you know their backstory?
No, they don't.
They don't know,
They
you
don't
don't
care
know the
to know.
backstory,
And they
and
don't care to know.
we're judging these girls. So a lot of them, based on the little that I know, and you would know more than I would, Veronica, a lot of them, their genesis, the whole thing started with sexual abuse.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
what you've been talking to some of these young ladies who were wards of GIS,
Yes.
and what would be, I know you can't go into details, but as a counselor, but what in general,
The
what is
one
it that
thing I
you're
hear
hearing from them?
The one thing I hear is you are the first person that I have met that understands exactly how I feel because I've been there, done that, wrote the book.
Mm,
So I
mm,
understand. I know what
mm,
you're going through. I've been there. I know why you're doing that. I've done it. I was
mhm.
so promiscuous. I hated myself.
Mm. Did you hear that, guys? Because people who are watching Mr. Hoyt, Alex Mitchell, my friend Alex Mitchell, those of you who are watching, guys, do you hear what Veronica is saying? That she was so promiscuous, she hated herself, and you heard her story. 9 to 11 years old, sexually abused, gang raped at 15, and then raped again at 28 years old. Come on, guys, we have to begin to understand and empathize with people, and be careful when we speak a word. Yes, be careful when we speak a word, because we don't know. We don't know the backstory on the back end of things, why we don't understand the why, and we need to understand these girls at GIS in order for us to be able to provide what it is that they need. So listening to the minister Veronica the other night in the press conference, do you believe that the what he's offering,
No, because
all the plans and the
no,
programs, and do you think that they truly understand what the
no, they
girls
don't.
need?
Because if he understood, he would never appoint a man to talk to these girls. They're not going to talk to a man.
Mm. So he appointed a man to talk to the girls. Which
Yes,
man
he
is that?
appointed the man Oriel something. I don't remember his name. The last name, but he's in charge. They're not going to talk to a man.
Okay.
They're not going to talk to a man.
And why are you saying they won't talk to a man?
Because the men are as far as they're concerned in their head, men are the ones the ones that perpetrated this thing on them. You know
Mm,
that one of the symptoms of sexual abuse is that women refuse to turn to men and they turn to women. A good
mhm,
set of women who are LGBT whatever are were sexually abused. Same thing
mm,
with boys. A good 30, whopping 30% of homosexual men were sexually abused as boys.
mhm, mhm. So that's a root. There's a root. That's a root issue. Now I listened to him and I haven't heard any. I'm not sure what the plans are to get to the root of the problem.
Me neither. I haven't a clue. I don't know how he plans to do this because he needs to involve people like me. If he
Mm-hmm.
really, really want to achieve something, he needs to involve people like me that have backstories, that have experience, and that I have been at this since 1999. He needs to
Mm-hmm.
involve people like me.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Even
Wow.
though I am a politician also who ran for an opposite party than his, I will be willing because this is my life's blood. I will lay down my life for this.
I think you said something very important there. I think this is beyond party. It's beyond which government is in. I
Correct.
think this has nothing to do with that.
No, because
This
this has
has
been going
Yeah.
on under both administrations.
Yes, it has nothing to do with that. And what your story really, I believe, is going to resonate with a lot of people who are watching, because the statistics according to the UN, according to UNICEF, says 1 in 3 girls in the Caribbean. So if you have 3 women standing up, there at least one of them that have been sexually abused, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
yet we are quick to look at the external of this woman and judge them.
Who is
Now
more than likely unhealed and has that unhealed sexual trauma that will permeate her entire life going on for her. She's either stuck on the steps and don't know how to get to the next level, or she hasn't even begun to climb because of what has happened to her. I
wow.
imploded at age 42 and I
Mm,
just got up and walked off my job. I came home. I had a crying fast for 2 days. Then I decided to go to a doctor to see if I can get her to write me a back sick letter that I can get back to work. But
mm-hmm,
when I went to her, I guess I was so wild and I probably was blabbering. I don't even remember. But she did
mm-hmm,
write me a prescription for Ativan. I have that in my book, so that's how I remember. And
mm-hmm,
she sent me to a psychiatrist. She wanted to send me to the ward at the QEH for mentally disturbed patients. The only reason she didn't send me is once again, I know how to pray, so I started to pray.
mm.
And I said, God, I can't go. I got 3 children. God, I can't go. I got 3 children. What's going to become of them? One of my children is a foster child that I had adopted because of her sexual abuse.
Hmm.
So I can't go. I can't go. So all of a sudden she changed her mind and say, okay, I'm gonna write you a prescription for Ativan and I am going to send you to a psychiatrist. I want you to
Hmm.
follow his instructions.
Wow.
And thank
So.
God that psychiatrist, when I got to him, he heard me, even though he was a man. He heard me. And he said, all you need is some introspection. So I went home the day and I started to do what I thought was introspection. And that's when I started to write my book. I wrote my book in 3 days and I was
Hmm.
finished in 3 days. And that brought my healing.
Wow, because just the act of writing,
Yes.
and yes, the
And
act of writing,
introspection.
yes, I totally understand that. Just listen to you, and I know you, and I mean all the things that you've accomplished, and having been through all of this. I mean, this you are an amazing queen. Shiaka, I met Shiaka, and Shiaka has me calling all these women queens, and
Yes.
that's what you are. You said, I see Steve Moore is in as well, but before I get to him, you said, that the psychiatrist, that they listen to you.
That
That.
one, that one
Mm-hmm,
listened to me. I believe also he was a man of God.
mm-hmm,
He more than likely, when I started telling my story, he was praying because he prescribed for me exactly what I needed
mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm,
go home and have some introspection, some one-on-one time with God, and to deal with it. And I did. And I wrote my book in 3 days. And in 3 days,
mm-hmm.
I was good.
No, you said also in your story that um, they were going to send you, the doctor was going to send you to the QEH ward with the mentally disturbed people. At
Yes.
this moment, they have about 3 or 4 of the girls at Black Rock, where the
Right.
mentally disturbed people are.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts about that?
Because as far as I'm concerned, the mental hospital does not treat, they medicate. So I'm pretty sure that those girls are now on medication that turns you into a zombie. As far as I'm concerned, they
Mm-hmm.
don't treat, they medicate.
Mm. So wow, and but that is what is being offered to these girls. I heard that up to Sunday, someone that I believe would know told me that one of the girls, another one, a fourth one, drank bleach and had to
Understandably,
be.
I stood in the window of a six-floor building to jump out. I stood in the
Wow.
window of the sixth floor of my building where I was living at the time. This is while it was in the United States. And
Mm-hmm.
I was about to jump. And
Mm,
I felt an arm pull me back.
mm.
But I was
Wow.
about to jump. That's where I was at that point in time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So wow, and so what we're saying, guys, and this is what Kerry. I'm trying to keep myself calm. Kerry told me the last time, Marcia, your head is hot. I'm really trying. I prayed before I came on, and I'm trying. But when I hear stories like this and see, and I know what they're doing at what you call the mental place there, for the mental patients, when you take these girls and you put them there with everybody else. I mean, it is, how do they live that down?
How do
you know
they come out? How do you imagine they're gonna come out? You think they're gonna come out okay? You think they're gonna come out healed? You think they're gonna come out with any sense of self-worth? How do you think they're gonna come out of there? No
I mean,
treatment.
they're at the psychiatric hospital. These a lot of these girls, they were sexually abused, and then it's like you're adding insult to
Insult to
injury.
injury.
Yeah,
Correct.
you keep pouring on abuse. So they were abused in their homes, and then they went to the government and they abused them. I'm being told that even the girls are beaten, like physically beaten at
Like I was.
GIS.
Like I was. So how
Marcia,
do you think they're gonna come out?
can
You
I
know, I
interject
was
a bit?
when I wrote my book, I was at the point in where I could not function. where I could not even get up in the morning and make breakfast for my children, where I could not function. Thank God for God.
Mm.
I could not function. I had stopped functioning. I walked off my job.
Wow. Veronica, I'm telling you, and we, as we're listening, Steve, I know you want to say something, but I want those of you who are listening, mothers and fathers, and whoever you are, you're listening, understand the impact of sexual abuse in a child's life. The impact of sexual abuse on a child's life, that impact can, and the trauma of it can have that child in is almost in a prison for the rest of their lives.
I made it to 42. When I attempted suicide, I was 20. I had my son, so I had my son at 26. I probably was 30.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I sent my son home to live with my mom because I couldn't handle it.
Right, your volume came up really nice a while ago. I don't know what was
Calm
the
that
difference.
down. I think because I'm maybe talking soft. Can you hear me better now?
Yes,
Yeah, I
better.
think I lowered my voice. I lowered my voice. Okay. As I said, I attempted suicide when I was 30, had my son at 26. So in order to in the best interest of my child, so that CPS in New York wouldn't take him, I sent my son home to live with my mom when he was 4. So I had to
Mm.
relinquish my son, give him up for my mom to my mom because I couldn't handle it anymore.
Right, right, and they would have taken him. You
Yes.
know, Queen, thank you for sharing your story with us, and I wanted to stay on because we're going to be talking about wandering, and because that is something that we want to be removed from our law books, and we're going to discuss exactly what it is, and we're going to also talk about the minister, because I believe that this minister has done such a terrible job. Steve Moore, I wanted to jump in on that. He has lied, in my estimation. I believe that he has lied to the public. And Veronica knows this, that if this was in America, he would be fired already. He will be
Immediately,
removed
if
from
not
office,
sooner.
right? But Steve, good afternoon, Steve.
Good afternoon, Marcia. Let me
Yes.
say something now, right? One question. Have they vaccinated these girls or they attempted to violate these girls with a vaccination? That's one of the questions I'm going to ask.
I don't
That's one of
know.
the questions to be answered, right? If they have violated these girls by vaccination, this is why that these girls is part of the runaway and part of what they are as well. That's the first question. The second question, or what should I say the second time? Now, I've watched another show on Monday night, and another minister expose himself. A lot of Bajans wouldn't think that this man have got on TV and exposed himself, but he did get on TV and expose himself by claiming that he is over at that institute on Saturday. Why would he be on at that institute on Saturday? It's no place for him. He's not doing nothing there. Why is he claimed to be there? All right. This is where we're at. So this is another minister. How much of them are there creating this problem with these young ladies and these young men? Barbados need to take a very good look at itself. All the people in Barbados that are seeing this happen know it's happening and keeping quiet because they want money in their pocket. I am very, very disturbed by what I see, what I'm hearing, and what's going on in Barbados. I'm very, very disturbed about it. I think that Barbados need a new election, not a selection. All right. What is happening in Barbados is very, very, very bad. That we got ministers playing. I mean, I'm getting videos now out of Barbados about seeing things that's very disturbing. Women fighting in supermarkets, big men on the road, pelting down one another for $3 or $3.50, wherever it is. This is madness. This is madness.
Mhm. But
As far as I'm concerned,
Steve, it could be some of what Veronica was saying, where they're imploding. There's so much
Exploding.
abuse,
They're
the sexual
exploding.
abuse and the physical abuse of our children. It's reached such a heights. And as people are frustrated, they don't have jobs, and they can't buy chicken, they can't buy everything. The prices are going up, then
well,
sometimes people turn on their children. But the abuse, I think we need to we really need to set our
but
eyes on that root problem of abuse. I believe
it's
that
not
that is where the problem is.
it's not only that, Marcia, that disturbed me. Barbados have become a nation of complainers, and they're going
Because
and complain to that organization, and they're making laws. The laws isn't benefiting nobody. When I was a child, we used to raise our own fowls and so on, pigs and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now you can't do that. Now, so we move from feeding ourselves from independent to be dependent. All right. That's what Barbados is, a dependent nation, not independent any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where all of the problems are mounting up with these young ladies, with the whole society in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So,
this,
Curtis, let me just pause there. Curtis is saying that we need the Bajan women to stand up and be counted on this one. And
correct.
Julia, welcome. Hi, Julia. Julia is watching from the US. She was born in Barbados and does a lot of work for young people, not just in Barbados, but throughout the Caribbean. Welcome. I see Mr. Hoyt is here as well. Yes, and I think, Steve and Veronica, that Curtis is so right. I believe that as women, this has to be that hill that we decide we will die on this hill. This is
correct.
so important to us, and that's why on Mother's Day, listen up, something is going to be coming up. I can't announce it yet because I know the ladies are waiting on permission for it, but there's something that is going to come up on Mother's Day, Bajan women, that this is something that everybody can rally around, regardless of the color of your party, because somehow it's come down to that. Who is red and
Well,
who is blue and who is orange and who is green and who is whatever. This thing is so important. We have about four of our young ladies who are suicidal and are down at they've put them at the psychiatric hospital, right? This is what we are dealing with. We have another set up at GIS who are in conditions that are not suitable for young women, right? So there's no way that we can continue as though nothing happened. And so I'm just making a pause here to call for people in Barbados, whether male or female, on Mother's Day. There's going to be an initiative on Mother's Day. On Mother's Day. So
Marcia,
listen out
Marcia,
for that, right? Yes, go ahead, Steve.
every day is Mother's Day for me. We shouldn't have
Mm,
to wait on one day that they've given to us, because this is a day they've given to us. And we need to stop taking the nonsense that they've given to us and running with it, and start making every day our own day. All right?
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
but
These young
we've
ladies,
chosen, sorry to interrupt, but we've chosen that day because it has significance. And when Marcia said she wanted the mothers to come out just now, this is what hit me. Remember Rachel in the Bible,
mm-hmm,
who
yeah.
was mourning the loss of her sons, and only she could mourn for them.
mm,
Only women can labor. Men can't labor. Only women can labor. We were given
Well,
that curse, or that
it's
command,
not a curse. It's not a curse. It's a
but only
great
women can
privilege.
labor. It was a curse in the Bible. Only women can labor, and only
Well,
we
I
understand labor.
let me say that I tend now to not even bother to look at that book, because it's not a curse, it's a great privilege. All right? To be able to have a child know what that child is in
But
you,
that's
and
not
so
what I'm
on.
saying. But that's
Hmm.
not what I'm
So,
saying.
so guys, let's not split hairs, okay? So, I
You know,
think both of you are saying the same thing. That you know what, we need the women to come out. I want to also thank God for the men like Steve and
That
Alex.
will support,
Uh,
yes.
yes, Alex, who have been supporting Emmanuel Barilla. Come on. When you look at Emmanuel champion this cause for a whole almost, the first time it came out last year. I was watching Emmanuel's show and supporting him as he was supporting the girls. So we have some strong fathers. These were the men. Actually, it's Steve and Alex Moore who brought this to my attention, actually, of what
yeah,
was happening. They came on this
that's
show
for
and
sure.
spoke about it. So we want to acknowledge the men. But what Veronica is saying is that there is something about women and women mourning for their children and
And
crying out for
laboring.
their children. And that's what Curtis is talking about. Curtis is saying the women, the Bajan women, the women of Barbados, they need to cry out. They need to put an end to it. If all of the women get together, all the queens get together, we will birth a new movement in this
Correct.
country. We
Correct.
will
Because only
birth
the
it.
women can labor and give birth. And
And
that's our mandate. That's what we are called to do, to labor and give birth. We need to labor and give birth to this. We need to tear down the walls of GIS. We can do it. We women can do it. Thanks for the support, men. But we women can do this. We need to do this. The women need to stand tall and strong.
mhm.
Yes.
And
And
we have some warrior women out there. There's Carrie, there's Julia, real Isis. I didn't even see that you're there, my sister. And listen, guys, we have some strong women out there, and we need when the announcement is made, if everybody share it to as many women as possible and many men as possible. Bring out the children. It's Mother's Day. Make it a family thing and let us come out, guys. Let us come out and birth something new. And Steve, I hear Veronica there saying that these women, I'm telling you, the strength of these women is so powerful. They could tear down GIS walls with their bare hands. I am
correct.
telling you, they will go there and knock down that building with their own hands if it comes to that. That's the power that is in the women and with our men, that those men supporting us, the Alex and the Steve and Emmanuel. These men, I'm telling you, especially those three, I want to thank them for standing in a fatherly warrior with an African spirit behind the women with their hand in their backs and holding us up. And I tell you this, this wall is going to crumble. Anybody out there agreeing with me today? This
Yes.
wall is going
To
to
come
crumble.
tumbling
And
down like the Berlin
it is
Wall
coming
coming down.
down. It is coming down. Steve, what are your thoughts about this Minister Abrams? Because I believe that you know what, they fired one of the mothers, the wards. They fired her. Was she fired this week, Veronica?
Which one?
They fired somebody there at GIS. I saw something on Facebook. I'm not sure. Somebody can let me
Yes,
know
they
if
fired the mother, the person in charge of the girls. She was fired.
Marcia,
she was fired. But
Yes.
I think, Steve, we need to do a clean house. The minister needs to go as well. The minister was covering up what was happening up there. The minister was covering up. What he said at the last press conference is very
mhm.
different from what he said 2.5 weeks before.
Correct.
Yes, he needs to go. Yes,
Steve,
he
go
needs to
ahead.
go.
Steve, you're speaking. Not hearing Steve. Veronica, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. No, Veronica was saying if it was in America, you live in the US right now. Um,
Right.
do you think he could make such a blunder and
No.
and and
And get away with it? No. No. Because how on earth you could say you did an investigation and there's nothing wrong, and 2 weeks later you go walk it back, and I find that's the MO of this administration. Walk back. So you go walk back the fact that you made that horrible blunder. That's egregious. That's egregious, and you need to be fired for that.
It has to be fired. And I think the women in Barbados rise up and call for his resignation, call for him to be removed. Women, forget about the party. A lot of you are hiding behind that. You are hiding
Right.
behind the party, behind colors. Huh?
Right.
This is about our dignity.
The dignity of our girls as well.
Correct.
The
This shouldn't
sanity,
be,
the
no.
sanity of our girls. I don't even know how I went insane at some point in time. The sanity of our girls is at stake because you have been sexually abused. Then you have been put in an institution that's physically abusing you, and I don't even know if they're also being sexually abused. And then you are going to tell me you did an investigation and you found nothing wrong when there's 30 something years of wrong at that institution? You cannot be serious.
No. I am telling you, first of all, the reporters in the US would have torn him to
The
threads
shreds.
because they're going to go dig up what he said. Then they're going to find out all kinds of things, but we don't have that kind of journalism here. And they're getting away with things, right?
Getting away with murder.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
but
Capital
He
murder.
said that nothing was wrong there, guys. And in 2 days later, the girls tried to escape. Can you imagine if one of them had been killed? After you are saying all is well there, all is well there. They're trying to leave. Are they, because it was paradise? Is why they're leaving? So he has created an environment that puts the girls in danger just by saying that nothing is wrong because he wants to come out as though he's doing a fantastic job,
Correct.
right?
he's doing
But
no,
Steve
no.
was saying something before he got cut off. Go ahead, Steve.
Marcia, 100% honest with you. It's time for the women in Barbados and the people in Barbados that know what's going on and sitting on the fence, being quiet. It's time for them to step up, step out, and speak up. The man got to go, the board got to go, and the staff at that facility got to go because they all are part of the problem. Simple.
And
I don't want to put
unless
any
the
person out the world.
whole place one gutted and burned and gutted, and start
Correct.
over fresh,
Correct.
start over.
Now, my question I've answered already is why do they have to put that in St. Lucie? Is it because the further away they are, they're out of the way? Are we so bad-minded towards one another or brain dead or something like that? Because that's what it looked like. We're so hardened to killing and hardened to the way we treat one another, hardened to the way we behave, that we just turn a blind eye.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a text message.
Go ahead, Veronica.
I just got a text message in my inbox, and this is from a reputable person who would know, who told me, yes, there is allegations of sexual abuse between the residents that appears to be encouraged, and at least one allegation against the staff of sexual abuse.
Correct. And this is why the minister has to go. And I don't understand, why would Bajan women not be taken to the streets and asking for this man to go? Because he came before us and told us there was nothing wrong. It's in black and white. It's in black and white. It's in print.
Right. I'll tell you why. Because Barbados and Barbadians like to turn a blind eye to sexual abuse. Sexual abuse in Barbados is pandemic. Is at the pandemic level of COVID-19. It's been going on for too long. I remember when I moved back home and I was staying at my mother to begin with before I got my own place. And right across the street from me was a girl child who was living with her uncle and had children from him and used to call him Uncle Daddy. And
Mm,
everybody thought it was, nobody spoke about it. It was a hush secret until I started. And I happened to get that girl to move away.
mm.
Wow.
It is a problem, as I've said it weeks and weeks that I've been doing the show, that when we did the Hush movies, the number of girls who came up crying at the cinema talking about their teacher molesting them, some of them even told us about policemen in
Of course.
sexually molesting them.
Correct.
They talked about uncles. They talk about their father. There was a case that we were dealing with a young lady from St. Michael's School, and every day she stayed home from school to study for CXC, and the father would stay home as well and rape that child before she go and do her chemistry and her physics. Huh? That was what was happening.
Is happening.
And
Sexual
let me
abuse
tell you,
is
and it is
rampant.
so much part of the culture that it smells. And this is what, let me just read something there that Alex is saying. He's saying that this is a move to shut them up by removing them from the public and stigmatizing them, to remove all trust in their words, right? Drug them and lock them up with no conviction.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
exactly what has happened to our girls.
Correct. The abuse that I spoke about happened in Barbados. The rape at 28, I was in US. But the sexual abuse from age 9 to 15 happened right here in Barbados. Okay? This has been pandemic. I'm 63. So you see how long this has been pandemic? This has been going on. This has been going on from time immemorial in Barbados. And Bajans turn a blind eye. Listen, when I moved into the neighborhood that I moved into when I got my foster child, everybody in that neighborhood knew. Everybody in that neighborhood knew. And you know what they told me when I took her into my home?
Hmm.
That little girl gonna corrupt your daughter. What you doing with she? She gonna corrupt your daughter.
You see?
That's what they told me.
But you see, Veronica, that is why they move these children so far away. And I must be fine in my house because I have my children in my house, and
My
you got
decent
your two
children.
cars and the dog and
My
the
decent
beautiful
children.
lawn and all of that, and you live up in the heights and the terrace, and everything is fine. So that those children, don't put them in the school system. Don't, no, no, no. Put
Don't
them
put them around
away.
the
Put
decent
them away
children.
after they
Don't
have
put
been
them around
abused.
the decent children. Like that's what they told me. She gonna corrupt your decent daughter. The child was 9 freaking years old.
Mm.
Hmm.
Don't put her around your decent child. She can corrupt your decent child.
Mentality.
Yes,
That's
yes.
that's what the people in my neighborhood told me about that child. A child,
At 9 years old,
nine
and
years old.
right, because we don't want to get ourselves messy. We don't want to get ourselves messy. That is the problem. And here is what ISIS is saying. Bajan women don't want to make our first woman prime minister look bad, right? That is part of what she's saying is happening. But come on, guys, this is beyond this. This is beyond party. It's not. Nobody's saying that it's because of her that it is the way it is right now. It's under her watch, and she can make a difference. And I'm saying, if she doesn't want to make a difference, the women in Barbados must demand a difference. The women in Barbados must demand a change, demand the closure of that place, demand the removal of the minister, demand the firing of all the staff.
But Marcia, you said the problem is that I would speak about is the women that are sitting on the sideline, even if they don't have children, happen to got children. If this problem isn't stopped now at the source, it can carry on into their children and their children and their children and their grandchildren and so on. So it needs to stop right now. This is the time exposing all bad deeds, and women need to step up. We need the women to step up.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
And I just
I
saw Wayne.
agree.
We ain't put that in BIM. No one goes against family members, and I can tell you stories about that. How much is hush hush and hidden up, and nobody wants to talk because it's a family member, and they don't want to jail their family member and all
But
sorts of ish instead of
let, let,
taking care of the sexually abused child.
but let me say something. The only time they go against their family members is when it's coming to do a land and fighting over land.
I was thinking the same thing. I was
Correct.
thinking that, so all of that is a farce. It is a
Correct.
farce.
Exactly.
It's a farce. And this is, you know what, we have what has happened here, Veronica, with you telling your story. Really and truly, we're looking at the fruit on a tree, but the sexual abuse, guys, is really the root. There is a root to what is happening. You hear about the girls, they're wandering and so on. You hear the stories of girls, they don't want to be home because the abuser is in the house.
Correct.
The
But
And the
abuser is in
mother
the house.
and the
Huh?
mother does not want to give up her bread and butter, who the man who provides for the house, so the child has to suffer. Hush, don't say nothing, don't talk, because he's the breadwinner.
Mm.
And
you
Oh
see,
God.
who was also sexual abuse. My prayer every day when my daughters were growing up was, "Don't, Lord, you better don't let anybody touch my daughter's hair, cause I am going to kill them myself, and then call the police for me, so that my daughters will be before a mother. So please don't let it happen." That was my prayer every day for my girl children.
I mean, we could understand. I mean, with your in your and look at what has happened to you. And the funny thing, I have had the opportunity of speaking to just a couple of former wards of GIS, and all of them, their story is with has in it sexual abuse from a child, and therefore they're acting out, and you have decided to incarcerate them. You've decided to put them in a jail, in a
And
prison,
penalize
is
them.
what you have done.
And
Is that's what
penalize
you have
them.
done, to destroy their lives instead of trying to help them. And that is, Carrie, that is where my head gets hot. Carrie said my head was hot. Carrie, that's where my head gets hot. Huh?
Mine too.
Yeah?
Mine too. Mine
Yeah.
too.
you
Because I
see,
think to myself, if God hadn't intervened and my mother had put me in Somerville because she couldn't handle me, what would it become of me? If I went through everything I went through and I went up there, what it says if I had went up there? What it says if I had went up there? I came to suicide. I was a horrible mess. I was
you see,
promiscuous, very,
there, there,
very promiscuous.
there is a lot of problems in Barbados that one lead to the other, and they all are holding hand in hand. And what about the intimidation? There's a lot of people out there that want to speak up, but they're afraid of the intimidation. They're
Correct.
afraid of the stigmatizing from the family members and the stigmatizing from the community at large. But what a lot of these people that are stigmatizing people don't understand is that you have no community if you are hiding this sort of behavior in it. All right.
Correct.
And when will it come home to roost? The chickens are coming home to roost. So when is it going? I'm not bothered, because at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say to a lot of people in Barbados is that you treat women with respect, whether you're young or you're old. You understand? And women need to start demanding that they be treated with respect, not being a bully, because there's a lot of women that take it too far and being a bully.
But they
Mm-hmm.
And
also
women,
may be doing that because they were abused as well. Because I was a bully at one point in time too. I used to walk with a knife. I replaced that knife with a 45. Okay, I was a bully at one point in time. Because if you come close to me, I'm gonna deal with you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you see that why I'm saying that this is the root of the matter, and what we need is a little empathy, guys, a little empathy, a little understanding. These are not criminals. I want you to stop thinking of the girls at GIS as criminals, right?
yeah.
There's a little
Or the
article.
ones that have been sexual abuse, period. Because we do a
Did,
lot of stuff ourselves. We do a
Mm,
lot of stuff. The young lady that came on and spoke to you on your show last Saturday that said she exploded. Well, I did both. I imploded and I exploded.
mm-hmm,
I was
mm-hmm.
ready and willing for anybody that crossed my path. Anybody. I don't care who you are. I didn't care who you were. Didn't matter to me. You meet the calm, decent Veronica. You should have seen me before I was 42. I used to challenge drug dealers. I didn't care.
Wow.
Wow. You know, if you're looking at look at my screen here, I'm sharing an article with you. This is from the Government Information Service, and this was from 2013, May 15, 2013. Right, we're in the month of May here, and it's 2022. You can do the math of how many years ago this article was written, and this is why I'm saying the people who are able to put a stop to this are women. The women need to begin. I saw Sister wrote there on there. We need the weeping women,
Correct.
guys. If we do not, we need to go into labor. We need to
Correct.
push. We need to push women. I will use this entire month to talk about this situation. This entire month, because the Child's Month. This is so important, guys. This is from 2013. The Government
But
Information Service says Barbados has high prevalence of children wandering. Okay? Now listen. More children in Barbados are charged with wandering than with drug possession, burglary, grievous bodily harm, rape, robbery, or theft. And this
but
is to put to rest, guys. Put it to rest that these girls are criminals,
That wandering
because we
needs
are
to come
hearing
off
too
the
much of that.
statutes.
Marcia, but what I'm trying to find out, this wondering, how can you make a simple thing like children walking around a crime?
Correct.
Everybody wonders. Everybody wonders. Big adults wonder. So why are you charging a child with a crime?
Because he hasn't been
Exactly.
home for a while. No, there was a point in time when I hadn't been home for a while either. It was 3 days. That's when I was gang raped, and the men kept me in the house for 3 days.
Ah,
I
and
could
you
have been
were
charged with
wondering,
wandering
and
too.
you were being gang raped.
Yeah,
You were
but I
being
was
gang raped for
wandering.
3 days, and but
Yeah,
yet still you would have been,
I would have
if
been
you would
wandering
have
if they
been
had caught
wondering,
me.
right?
Yes, yes,
The victim is the one that always suffers the worst.
correct.
Did you hear
Why?
that, Steve? She was. We
Yes.
see these other things. Oh, girls are missing. Girls are missing, and
Right,
for 3 days, and people say, "Oh, please, they're too careless and they're promiscuous
and
and they're
that's some
gone
man
and
house.
whatever." And you don't know.
But
Veronica's saying
that
she was gone for a weekend because she was being gang raped, guys.
yes, but this is a slavery mentality of our people. Rather than look for the truth, our opinions matters more in terms of these little children than anything else. And making these little children the bad person. We got to stop making these little children bad people. They're
Mm-hmm.
not.
Children,
They're
they're
not.
children. There are children. Come on, man.
You know.
Children.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big 15, so I wasn't a child according to people. I was a big 15.
Yes. Yes. Now, let me just read a little bit more this article so people could understand what wandering is, and as the article say, it is of high prevalence in Barbados. However, the number of children, mainly girls, charged for wandering falls second in number to those charged for assault. Senior Police Superintendent of Southern District, Euclid Thompson, said that while 123 children were charged for assault between 2008 and last year, 55 were charged with wandering during the same period. Between 2008 and 2012, 24 children were charged with grievous bodily harm, 21 for burglary, 7 for rape, 6 for robbery, 5 for theft from the person, 36 for other thefts such as finding property, and taking it and not returning it to the owner, and 27 for drug possession. Mr. Thompson revealed that these statistics during the annual 11 Plus program entitled In the Winner's Circles was hosted by National Task Force on Crime Prevention and Magistrate Barbara Cook Allen to target children preparing to enter secondary school. Okay? Speaking during an interview with the Barbados Government Information Service, Magistrate Cook Allen also confirmed that wandering was very prevalent in Barbados. Throughout the jurisdictions of the court, you would find that each person dealing with juveniles has quite a high percentage of wanderers, mainly among the girls. She explained that wandering was a crime that only children between the ages of 11 and 15 could commit. Listen, you hear what they're saying? They're
I heard
only
you.
children between the ages 11. If the whole thing even sounds stupid and
It's
involves them
shocking.
being somewhere without permission. So if the child is somewhere without permission,
From the
right? They
parent.
can be charged for wandering.
Yeah.
They, the child, left home for school and never got there that day. That is wandering. A parent saying, no, you can't go to a cavalcade for or a fete, and you went there. That is wandering. It is going someplace without proper guardianship and permission, the magistrate pointed out. She added that the offense was more prevalent in the home among girls than boys, with some of them opting to leave because of what was happening there. For example, they may be sexually abused or they were exposed to sex at an early age and leave home to continue in their sexual activities.
Which
In the
was me.
case of the boys, however, the main reasons for leaving home are usually gambling, cockfighting, and a small percentage who are involved in sexual activity with older females or males. The magistrate stressed that children need to know they could and would be charged for leaving home without their parents' permission or without them knowing where they were going.
Even
Your
if they're
actions,
running
yes,
away from sexual abuse.
yes, and so the thing is
Or the
that we have
perpetrator.
to when we listen to this, we have to understand is that this is something that has been on the books for ages, and nobody is in any agreement that children should leave home without permission. Nobody is saying that, but what we're saying is, guys, because they left home without permission, you're going to put them in a jail. You're going to give them a criminal charge?
That's
Whose
correct. They're going to
fault
get a
is that
criminal
that they've
charge.
left home? Whose
That's
fault?
that's because that's the mentality. That's our mentality is to punish you even if you're the victim. That's the mentality. And the court system should be doing a better job as well. The court system has been exacerbating that problem for years and years and years. You understand? Rather than helping to set up systems in the country to help these children after school classes, learning, whatever activities. There's nothing in Barbados. Nothing at
Counseling,
all.
treatment, nothing. There's nothing.
Nothing.
When I got my foster child who had been sexually abused as well, I had to beg the child care board to get her counseling. You know what they told me? That happened a while ago. She okay now? Seriously? Wanna kidding me?
Mentality.
Yeah.
Mentality.
But somebody
Well,
has well, how come? Here is a question, right? The white these no my head getting hot, Kerry. My head getting hot now. How come we don't see any white children at Somerville?
Correct.
Why are you gonna tell me that they don't there's no wondering that they don't miss him for no
no, no,
one
no, no, no,
day
no.
or 3 days?
Marcia,
How come?
there's
Oh,
a
let
big
me see
difference.
one of these same government officials. Let me see a policeman pass his place and go and charge one of those white children for wandering.
Not going to
Let me
happen.
see that happen in here. It's
Let me
only
tell
only
you
the black
something. Let
children
me
they
tell
they
you.
hold like slaves and drag them with a chain around their
Let me
neck and
tell you
tie
a
them to
story,
their head
Marcia.
and lock them up in there.
Let me tell you a story, Marcella. I did my certificate in counseling. I started it here in Barbados because I was living here at the time. When I wrote my book, I was here. So after writing my book and getting myself together, I decided to go into the field of counseling. So I started the certificate of counseling at the Barbados Family Planning Association. When I did that first thing, I decided we had to do a physical project. I decided to do my project on children at risk in Barbados. So I wrote to Ministry of Education, got permission to go into the schools and pick up children that were given quote unquote trouble. I wanted the diversity, so I included St. Winifred's. When I wrote the principal of St. Winifred's, she told me, "We don't have any deviant children here. We don't have any deviant children here."
So, for those who are watching, we're not from Barbados. St. Winifred's is a school where you have primarily white children. Okay, continue.
Yeah, she told me that there were no deviant children, so she couldn't give me permission to get any girls because there weren't any there giving trouble. But later on, as God would do it, I ran into a girl from St. Winifred's who was not only giving trouble, but who was living with a 30 something year old man. And she was 16, 17, because the mom had put her out. She went to St. Winifred's and she spoke to me at length.
You see, but they hide up their stuff. But no,
Yes,
we take up our children and carry them child down to the police station, right? And
yes,
put them in the hands of these wicked people,
yes,
because they are slave masters. They're like the planters.
yes.
The policemen. Can you imagine those girls? They were not found. They couldn't find them for a couple of days because they were trying to escape, right? And they find them, and the first thing they did was to go open up their vaginas to see if they had sex. That's all that mattered to you.
While they were on the run.
Yeah, when they came back, all that mattered to them, they had the policeman do a vaginal examination on them.
And
That's all that mattered to you.
that vaginal examination that they do is so invasive. Let me tell you something. When they did that to me when I was raped at 28, because 15, 9 didn't know. So at 28, the police came and took me to the hospital. And I felt like a slab of meat, turn here, open here. So, doing that to children. And it was my consent because I went to the hospital. So now you're doing it without consent to girls,
And even though the
children.
parents, Veronica, the parents that said that they didn't want it done, they
But if they make the
overrided
wards
that.
of the court, the parent doesn't have any say. My
Look at
foster
that.
child was first award of
Look
the
at that.
court, and I wanted to take her to New York. I was going to New York, my daughter and myself, and I had to go to the court to get permission to take her to the U.S. because she was a ward of the court at first before I became her foster parent, her official foster parent. So
That
once you are a ward of the court, the parents don't have any say.
you know.
Marcia,
But yeah, go ahead, Steve.
when you as a parent or any person, and the police or the court get into your business, you do not have no say at all. Even you may be the victim or not, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have no say.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing you can do is to get the courts involved in your business, even as a parent and so on, because the court end up coming out benefiting from your
Mm-hmm.
misery than you would ever imagine. The
But
court
you
does
see,
that.
you don't know that as a parent. See, parents are desperate. They're at their wits' end, and they're going to get help from the
Mm-hmm.
courts. And this is what happened. My son and I were first having trouble, I took my son everywhere. I had a psychiatrist that was willing to send my son to Dawes. All I had to do is say, send him. That's all I had to say. Instead of treating my son and trying to get to the root of what my son was doing, what he was doing, all she wanted me to say is say send him, and she would have sent him to Dawes.
And the thing is that it's not a place of these places are not places of reform,
Or
right? they're not
rehabilitation.
they're
They're
not
not.
places of reform, and that is the problem. Here we are. There's another article here from the Government Information Service, again, May 15, 2015. Count the number of years. and it talks about reforming juvenile laws in Barbados. And it says here, Steve and Veronica and those who are watching, did you know that children with sponsor sheets asking for money in supermarket, in the car parks, are considered to be begging for money and are committing a crime and can be charged? This is according to the laws on our books. However, every so this is telling me, guys, that there are laws that we choose to enforce and others we don't choose to enforce, because every school gives the child a sponsor card, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And the
Yes.
Yep.
child goes. So that law is on the book. This is according to the Government Information Service, right? Okay, this is their media. And they're saying that those laws are on the books. It's archaic, but it's on the books, but they don't, nobody enforces those.
Like buggery in the prisons. Nobody enforces that either.
Right? Nobody enforces that. So why is it that we can't just stop, and why are we enforcing wandering?
Because it's
To
girls.
what end? Listen, similarly, that an orphan child, one who is desolate because the parent is in prison, one who is found living in circumstances that can lead to prostitution, or one found wandering, can be placed at the
One minute,
government
one minute, one
industrial
minute.
school.
Did you just hear what? Did you repeat what you just said about the prostitution?
One who is found living in circumstances that can lead to prostitution. They're
Does
saying
that not?
any child that is in a situation like that can be placed at a government industrial school.
But
So
doesn't
how do
that
you know
not
that
sound like
that
the
child is
government
gonna?
industrial school? Doesn't that not sound like the government industrial school? That sounds like
How
the
on?
government industrial school.
But how on earth you see a child living in certain circumstances because the mother can't really provide, that you're gonna take that child and put it in GIS instead of taking that mother and putting her on welfare or something like that to help her? Wasn't serious though?
But
Well, this is a law. This is a law, and
listen,
this is a law.
the problem is that there is a lot of laws that have been on the statutes in Barbados that discriminate against our people, discriminate
Black
against the
people.
poor,
Correct.
causing the poor to pay with everything that they don't have. They're not making the people any richer. The court system, the government, the nothing isn't making the poor any better off right now in Barbados in 2022. Everything have gone extremely hard, and then they are blaming the conditions outside, and they're doing nothing to make the situation in Barbados any better. Nothing.
Well,
So,
I mean, it is quite, Steve. I'm reading this when I did the research on this, I was my jaw up, drop open, mouth open wide, because I realized that, okay, so you are picking and choosing which of these archaic laws that you want to enforce. Then,
Right.
okay, so it should be nothing for you to stop to refrain from enforcing the wandering law. This should not be. This shouldn't. You shouldn't have a
but
problem in doing that.
but
Don't take me
Marcia,
around. And women, I hope our women are listening. We have to educate ourselves.
but Marcia. Now let me say this, right? The part of that problem there with the wandering is the policeman. You got to blame the policeman as well, because the policeman pick this child up, take it to the station and charge it with that. The policeman never himself never found out why this child is in the situation. They never take the child to the house, to the parents' house, to find out
Mhm.
why this child is out there. All right. And if they did that, they can then turn around and charge the parent for not taking care of this child, because no one told the parent not to get this child, or to get this child, should I say. So the police is part of this problem as well. They're enforcing
Mhm.
laws to detriment the younger generation, to keep the younger generation in bondage and fear. This is why
Yes.
there's so much fear in Barbados, and nobody wants to speak out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, it's not that they don't want to
I'm
speak out.
listening.
It's
Go ahead.
it's not
Go ahead, Veronica.
it's not that they don't want to speak out, it's that a lot of people are scared. Yes, we got a good percentage of people who don't want to speak out, or who prefer to turn a blind eye. But there are a lot that are intimidated and that are afraid. They are scared to speak out because they get discriminated against and they get ostracized
And victimized.
and
Well,
victimized.
yeah.
So
Let,
they're
let me read a
afraid.
little bit more about the laws here, guys, because we need
Go
to
ahead.
educate ourselves. Laws relating to these status offenses, an offense for which only a child can be charged. Okay? And other offenses are now under review as Barbados seeks to reform its juvenile justice legislation. From when? May 15, 2015.
2015.
From in 2015 till now, they're under review. The island is currently governed by the Reformatory and Industrial Schools Act of 1926 and the Juvenile Offenders Act of 1932 for matters relating to children. These ancient acts that were allowable back in the 1920s and 30s are no longer possible today. We need to look at ways of taking these things out of the books and
Oh,
finding other ways of dealing with our young people who are doing these activities, right? And this was said by the Registrar of the Supreme Court of Barbados, Barbara Cook Aline. And this was in 2015, guys. With wandering identifiers being one of the most common offenses for which children are sent to the GIS, the registrar stated that it was not a child's fault every time it wandered. So why is a child? Oh, this doesn't make any sense, guys. By punishing that child instead of finding out what is happening in that household, we are sending that child to a certain message. And they want to do it with girl children. There's a punishment. It's a punishment to send them down to GIS. We had to quarrel with a parent. My husband and I really, my husband rang into that parent. The little girl did something, and then the mom is, oh, she's gonna take her down to GIS. We could not believe that you would take up your good child that need a little counseling and a little love and a little care and a little attention and take her and put her down to GIS.
One question: How many parents, and I don't like using that word either, parent, because if you break it down, it's pay rent. You're paying rent on your child. I don't like using that word, but I use it for this instance. How many parents out there, when they walk into the door after work or from going into town shopping, walks in and give their children a hug? Come here, let me hug you. How much do that?
well, let me answer that for myself. I am not a hugger. Was never a hugger because that's not my love language. That's not how I demonstrate my affection. My mother wasn't either. So not because I don't hug you, don't mean I don't love you. I'm just not demonstrative. I remember when I was in counseling, my counselor telling me fake it till I make it. So that's when I started trying to force myself to hug because I'm not a hugger. So because you're not hugging does not mean you don't love your children or you don't show love or you don't in other ways.
So
Some people just not
let me say
huggers.
something that I've discovered, right? That a lot of people do not understand about hugging. Hugging is a form of affection, but we pass messages. All right, we pass
But some
messages
people
when we
just aren't
hug.
huggers. That's not a indictment on a person because they're not huggers. I'm not. I don't hug. I
I
really
wasn't.
don't. People, my
I
friends, I'm
wasn't.
not a
I
hugger.
wasn't a hugger until I got my two boys. And when I walk in the door and I see them, I just feel like I want to
Well, that's
well up
you.
now and say,
Everybody
"Come
don't hug,
here." But
so
listen, I, I wasn't a people person as well. When I left Barbados, I wasn't a people's person. I would tell you in the quickest way where to get off. Now I'm a change, reform person.
but that
I
doesn't
hug.
mean that because you do it
Oh,
now that it's an indictment on those who don't. That's all I'm saying.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that these are the sort of things that can change
No, I
one's.
disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly.
okay, and listen, guys. listen, let us stick to what what the message at hand. Veronica, this is he's making his point and saying that, Steve, what are you
But
saying?
he is
Just
No,
hang
I'm
on,
finished. I'm
Veronica.
finished. I'm
Hang
finished.
on,
I'm finished,
Veronica.
Marcia. I'm finished. I'm
Right.
finished.
You're
he's
finished.
making a psychological evaluation that I don't think he's
Nothing to do with
qualified to make.
psychological.
It
No,
Nothing
does.
to
no,
do
no.
with psychological.
Veronica, we are all here making our
I
points, okay?
understand that, but I can't let that pass. Sorry.
That's okay, but
Marcia,
that's his
I
opinion.
will speak to you later, Marcia. I'm
No,
gone.
no, but
I'll speak to
that
you
is
later.
his opinion, and I think he's sharing his thoughts as a father. Steve, please hang on. Steve, please hang on. Let me finish reading this though. Um, it says, by punishing that child instead of finding out what is happening in that household, we're sending that child a certain message. Yes, some do leave home willingly to go off to do activities, but some are running from certain behaviors. That's the same thing Veronica was saying. She said, stressing that that was why the legislation needed to be reformed. Mrs. Cook Allen, a former magistrate with the juvenile court, also lamented the fact that children were given stiffer penalties than adults for committing similar offenses. Mrs. Cook Allen, she was at the time the registrar of the Supreme Court of Barbados. All right. So, and this is what she is stating. At present, in criminal law, right, a child is between the age of, oh no, I'm gonna there's another piece. Oh yes, she says, for instance, if a persistent shoplifter is an adult, came before the court, we would likely give them imprisonment, perhaps 6 months to 1 year. But if a child is persistently shoplifting and they come to the court on a third occasion, our only option would be to send them to prison for 3 to 5 years. She said, noting that was the time stipulated by the existing legislation. Can you imagine this? This is why we need total reform. The juvenile laws need to be reformed, stating that the legislation placed magistrates in a bind. The registrar said there were cases where children needed the period of imprisonment because of the society in which they were living, their environment, as well as their home structure. But she stressed this did not apply to all circumstances, as there were some children who only needed a short stint to remind them of how to behave. Meanwhile, policymakers will also be seeking to review the age categories of children under the Juvenile Offenders Act so that the definition of a child could be recognized across the board. Wow. This is eye opening, guys. And I really, really think that we need to look at the juvenile laws in Barbados, and I'm sure it is throughout the region, that this is a problem that we really need to look at that. I really think that this is really, really, really something else. Let me hear what some others are saying. I'm sorry that Steve left.
Marcia, this is why I am thinking that we need to get to the UN and bring these
Hmm.
matters before the UN. Barbados is a signature to the UN, 19th April 1990. They signed on to
Hmm.
the Convention for the Rights of the Child. I'm sure
Hmm.
this is in direct um, opposition to,
Yes.
to what they signed on to when they ratified their signature, and
Yes.
we need to get this to the UN because these are rights of children that are being violated every
Hmm.
day.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's a good note. That's 229. That's a good note to end on. Because, and I know that is a concern for you, Veronica,
Yes, it is.
about that this needs to be reported to the UN. But I
Yes.
know in my research I saw that we a child, it was not allowed, I don't think. I think that we have to look into that to see what is the procedure. I don't know if anybody listening would know what would be the procedure. in
To
getting
report them.
this. Yes, go ahead,
I
Veronica.
researched the procedure as well. The procedure is there's a you go onto the UN's website and there's a form you fill out and get signatures.
Mm-hmm.
People
Yes.
that agree with you and
Mm-hmm.
get it before the UN. And the UN they take these things extremely seriously.
So you're saying that if a petition is made,
Yes.
uh-huh. Okay, so that's something that that we, if you're out there, a woman, and you're listening, that's something, or a man, because we've seen Steve. Sorry that Steve left, because listen, all opinions matter on the show. It's just we're giving opinions, and I'm sorry, really sorry that Steve left. But
I'm sorry
Steve,
too if I'm
yeah,
responsible, but he was making a statement that he thinks that a child responds better psychologically if it's hugged. And I'm saying that not everybody is a hugger, and that should not be a condemnation on women who don't hug.
I don't know if he was condemning. I don't think he was condemning. He was making he just making a general
No, he
statement,
didn't. He
and I
asked how
think,
many women hug their children.
but
That
but
was his
but
question.
Veronica,
Yes, ma'am.
let's put the whole thing in context. And so Steve was saying, what Steve was saying is that, and the average person would agree with that, that a child, you were on, I heard the girls from GIS that said all we needed was a hug. I spoke to a former ward of GIS, and they said, all the woman told me today, all we needed a hug, and we're down there and they're beating us. Okay, so let's take the statement in the general sense and the context in which he's saying it, and not see it as a condemnation of anybody. Steve is someone who supports this cause. Steve is somebody who has, I mean, every waking time I speak to, every time I speak with Steve, this is what he's talking about. And I think that he was making, just a general statement, and I'm really sorry that he felt he had to leave, because it is true. The girls from GIS said, we yes, we did something wrong, but we wanted a hug.
And there's
So it's
lots
not
of
an
us that
indictment
don't
on
want to
others.
be touched.
I'm not a big hugger either,
But there are lots
so
of us that
I
don't want to
don't
be
take
touched,
offense to it at
Marcia.
all.
Marcia, there are lots of
Yes,
us who don't want to be touched. You couldn't come hug me. After I had been abused, you couldn't come hug me.
I
I
understand that.
shoved you away from me.
Yes,
So that's not
yes.
a general thing. That's some women, some girls that had been abused, not all.
Yes, and so he was, and I think he was making, he was making a statement, and I think that the average person could relate to what Steve was saying. And me being, I'm not a big hugger either, and I didn't feel like it was an indictment against me at all. I do understand that everybody's not into that. My mother didn't give me a lot of hugs, and then just like your story, and now, I make it a point of my duty. It's something that I work myself out of, especially when I moved to the US, that I started to do that. And everybody, they, guess what? We respond differently to things. As you're saying, it's not, for everybody. But guys, thank you so much for watching. And I want to thank you. And I want to say to everybody who's watching, listen out. We have something major. The women are planning something that includes the men, Alex, and everybody. Right? This is something that, okay, Steve is back. I'm glad that Steve is back. I'm glad that Steve is back. Steve, I'm sorry Alex didn't join us. I love when the men join us, because of that strong male fatherly presence as is needed, right? But I want to tell you, listen out. Julia, you're in the US. I know if you were here, you would be at this thing that is being planned. So we're just waiting on permission. So we're waiting on permission. This is pending permission for this thing to happen on Mother's Day. Mother's Day. Yes, Mother's Day. There's some people calling for the weeping women. Veronica herself was calling for the mothers. And I believe that that's going to happen. And guess what? We're involved. It's involving everybody. bring the husbands, bring the fathers, bring the everybody, bring the children. This is a family affair. Steve, welcome back. We have 5 minutes. Can you give us your final words? And Julia Robinson, Julia, yes, you're right, Julia. That they're so right in that comment. Go ahead, Steve. Welcome back, Steve, and thank you for your work that you have been doing for the girls at GIS.
Thank you, Marcia. Now we can only be strength and unity. We got to unite no matter what. We got to
Yes.
put our petty differences aside. All right. And our personal beliefs and look after those young ladies. Those young
Yeah.
ladies are paramount to the future of Barbados
Mm-hmm.
because they're the next generation after us. We cannot continue this way. We cannot continue this way with a slavery mindset and not getting up and standing up and be accountable for
Mm-hmm.
everything that's happening in Barbados today. We got to.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying there's so much people in Barbados that know exactly what we are saying. They know the problems, but they are not getting up to help sort these problems out.
Mm-hmm.
Please, I'm begging everybody in Barbados, come together and let's sort these problems out. Let's stop fighting against one another and fight for and with one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to
Mm-hmm.
say for now.
Thank you so much, Steve. And in that spirit, you came back, and that is leading by example. Yeah,
Yes.
I love that. That I love that. We're gonna
No,
have
sometimes
differences, but guess what? We're
sometimes they
gonna
need a
work together.
sometimes they need a timeout, Marcia, and I
Yes,
think that I needed a timeout. Um,
yes.
I'm, because although that I'm abroad, this thing is affecting me when I see it on the news, and it's affecting me psychologically. I really, 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 really wake up every day being annoyed to see that young women that we all are here for a journey, we all are here for an experience. And if anybody who doesn't think so believe it, then they're foolish. We all are here on this planet Earth for an
Mm-hmm.
earthly experience. That's what we should be doing rather than
Mm-hmm.
creating misery and stupid laws to hamper other people.
Yes,
That's what we
yes.
need
That's
to start
wonderful.
doing. We need to enjoy life. Life is here for enjoying, not to your enjoyment be the misery of some person else's.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to stop. It should stop.
And we're
Come
going
on,
to
people.
start with unity. That's we're going to start with unity. And Veronica, what's your final words, ma'am? First of all, let me just say, Veronica, I just want to thank you, Queen, for sharing from your heart today, for sharing with us and giving us a backstory, as to, with these girls at GIS, and helping us to understand. And I think I connected today with how you presented it. I connected it and understood the root of the problem, that we are trying to fix the fruits, but we're not looking at the root of the problem. And what you're through your sharing today, I really do understand. And I read it, but it's like, yes, it is sexual abuse, or any kind of abuse is a root cause of a lot of what is happening to our girls. So I want to thank you so much, Veronica, for being on. And what do you want to say to us before we close?
Okay. First, let me apologize to Steve. Steve, I didn't mean to run you or anything. It's just that I have very strong opinions about this, and sometimes I can come on too strong.
I
So,
see that.
Okay.
my
That's
apologies.
a woman. That's a queen for you. She's
I see that.
apologizing. And that's
Fully
guys,
overstand.
listen, I want to let this be a teaching moment for Beverly, everybody who's watching. Anytime we come together, we're gonna rub. Things are gonna happen because we've all experienced abuse at some level.
Spark is
We've
going to fly.
all of us, we're hurting. We're black people, for God's sake.
Sparks are flying.
Yes,
Sparks are
iron
flying, Marcia.
sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron.
Yes. So we're
My
going to, yeah.
Yes, we're gonna proceed like that because I agree, Steve. We need to unite For too long, we have been not united, and this is how they win because we're not united. If we're united, they can't win. So going
Yes.
forward, I agree that we have to be united. We have to show unity and strength. We
Yes.
thank you, men, for standing behind us and propping us up as we go forward and take this government GIS, sorry, by storm. We got to take GIS by storm. We need to crack the walls and then bring them tumbling down. This has been going on for too long. I'm 63. I was 15 when this happened to me. When the I understood. At 9 I didn't understand. At 15 I knew what happened to me. And that's when I started acting out. When I started doing all my foolishness. I stole. I used to lie. I was a pathological liar. I was extremely promiscuous. I hated myself because of it. And I know exactly where these girls are. They need treatment, they need healing, not punishment. Both of our base institutions are for punishment only. The big dogs, the small one, GIS. They're for punitive measures only. There's no rehabilitation. There's no reform. That's why recidivism is so high. And we need to
Yes.
do something about it. You cannot have something that you draft in 2015, sign on to the UN Convention for the Child in 1990, and 2022. This stuff is still happening. It can't continue. And if we unite and we do something about it, they're going to have to hear. They have to hear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
Thank
correct.
you so much. The Marcus Garvey says black unity is key. He says, get organized and you will compel the world to respect you. Women, black unity is key. Men, black unity is key. Get organized and you will compel the world to respect you. Those are the words of the our the most honorable Marcus Garvey. Yeah, and so that's how we're going to end, guys. Get unity. Get united. Get united. We are men, we're not against men. Women, we're not against men. Black women, black men, come together and let's take care of the black family. Let's take care of our black children. God bless you all, and listen out for Sunday. Sunday, Mother's Day, something great is going to happen. Yes? Bless you all. Bye bye. Thank you, Veronica, for sharing so openly with us. And thank you, Steve, for being on. Thanks to Alex, Beverly, everybody that's on, Julia, Curtis, everybody who came on. I can't see all the names and to call everybody, but thank you, those who dropped in. Deborah, some of you, Alex, dropped in and out. Thank you all. God bless you. Bye bye. See you
God bless
Bye.
again
you.
Saturday at
God
11. God
bless. Bye
bless.
bye.
Bye.